Okay, so I think when we left off, I was kind of showing you a little bit about Mentimeter and how to get them to make that word cloud. So the good thing about that word cloud is that when I had my students to make one, and I'm going to try to see if I can get back to it here. So I could see right off if there were kids who didn't understand some things. Because look, I have at school that shows location, that's fine. First, Monday, then next. But look up here where I had mom and dad and sister. So I knew right off the bat that there were some kids who did not quite understand. And that was a good launching point for the next day. And I actually did pull this cloud up for them to look at the next day. And I went back over transitions. I said, guys, remember, transitions have a very special, unique job. Let's go back and think about and talk about what transitions do. So a transition is a signal word that lets me know when something is going to change, when there's a change in time or place, and it organizes the sequence of events. So I know what happened first, next, last, all of that. So let's go back and look at our responses to the Mentimeter. All right, now we've got some great ones here. We've got next, then, Saturday, at home. This should be suddenly, no problem. But let's think about mom, dad, and sister. Does that let me know of a change necessarily? And so that's a good place to have that discussion. And then you're ready for your live instruction, whatever you're going to cover the next day. So you may actually want to get deeper into this. You may actually ask them to write a narrative. Now we're going to write a narrative. I'm going to go through and we're going to write a narrative and insert some transitions there. There and again, just because we're in a virtual setting doesn't mean that we can't still do an I do, we do, you do format. So what I would have is I would have my example for a narrative already written up. For Tuesday's directions, you're going to meet Ms. Williams live. Meet Mrs. Williams live in Teams. And then I'm going to have my link to my Teams or Zoom or whatever we're using. All right. So I'm going to have a narrative already typed up on my PowerPoint for them. And we can move here. Just insert our slide. Okay. My day at the park. So I'm going to go through, sorry, little pause there. My day at the park. So early one morning, I'm not going to write this whole thing out, but what I would do from here is go through, I'd have a narrative and I'd say, okay guys, this is my narrative. Let's go through and identify the transitions here. Now remember, what did we say transitions do? Okay. And then you could add another one, another example. And you might have an example that has no transitions in it. And you might ask students to help you add the transitions. So here you're identifying the transitions in my story, okay, as a group. And then here, in your next narrative, a visit to the zoo, I woke up with a start, or I woke up ready for our trip. And so you might ask them, so what's a transition that I might add here? And then you would go a little further. Okay, what might be a great transition to add here? And after that, you would have them to then write a narrative. including at least 3 transitions, and it can be brief. So that's the you do part. That's the part that they might even work on independently. And then you give them some time to work on it. You can have them pull that up, and you can talk about their samples as a class. Or you can wait until the next time and say, okay, this is what I want you to submit via Seesaw or Teams. And you can pull those examples up within the class and talk about them in class and say, okay, Sharita wrote a great narrative, and she used, you go through and read the narrative, and can you guys identify the transitions in Sharita's narrative? Yada, yada, yada. So then they're getting to see or talk about their own work samples. So this is something that can be very deliberate, very incremental. Every day, you're not going to do all 5 E's necessarily. It really depends on what you're needing children to do. Everything goes back to this learning target. What are our goals for the week? Our goals are not to make the work fit the template, right? Our goals are to help students navigate between independent practice and live classes, getting what they need, still learning what we want them to learn. So there, and again, don't do 2 lesson plans. Please, please, please. That is so much work. Chances are you're like me and you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't want to be the reason that you guys are pulling your hair out. This doesn't have to be, exceedingly difficult. And there, and again, these are recommendations. This is not an exact it's not a baking recipe where everything has to be there every single time. No, there might be some days when you just do engage and explore. Some days that are all about extending and explaining. It just depends on what's right for the lesson. So there, and again, I hope this clears up some things. And if not, then we can have a meeting and you guys can talk to me about your concerns face to face. I just didn't feel like I wanted to pull you guys into a meeting that hadn't been previously scheduled. You've got so much going on already. But you can always reach out to me, let me know if something is not working, and go from there. All right. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Bye-bye.